Krishna Kirtana Ganana Tanapano Premamritam Manidhi Dhiradhi Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshura Militanyena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manavistam Savidanyena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamaya Dadanti Swapadanti Kam. First of all, I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my Shiksha and Diksha Guru, Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupada Satara Satasisima, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Then I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my Shiksha and Sannyas Guru, Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupada Satara Satasisima, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my Shiksha Gurus, Srila Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj and Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Goswami Maharaj. I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna Bhagavan, the speaker of Bhagavad Gita, unto Sri Arjuna, the hearer of Bhagavad Gita, and unto the Srimad Bhagavad Gita itself. I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of all the great acharyas who wrote commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, Srila Sridhar Swami Pad, Sri Ramanujacharya, Sri Madhvacharya, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of these great acharyas who wrote commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita. And I offer my humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who are present here today, my Dandavat Pranam. So now we're on we just finished chapter 13 yesterday. We're going to revisit it today for a few minutes, going over verse 1334. We see how Krishna has answered the question of Arjuna in 13.1, where he wanted to know about Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetragna, Jnanam, and Gnayam. And the next question that Arjuna will ask is 14.21. That's the 14th question. Because Krishna is going to continue talking about the material nature in terms of the modes of material nature in the 14th chapter. So when he talks about the modes of material nature in the 14th chapter, he's going to answer more of this question in more details, the question that Arjuna is asking him in 13.1. Now, visiting 1334 one more time. Yatha prakashyatya eka kritsnam lokam imam ravi kshetram kshetri tata kritsnam prakashyati bharata. O son of Bharat, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminate the entire body by consciousness. So, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada says, there are various theories regarding consciousness. Here, in Bhagavad Gita, the example of the sun and the sunshine is given. As the sun is situated in one place, but is illuminating the whole universe, so a small particle of spirit soul, although situated in the heart of this body, is illuminating the whole body by consciousness. Thus, consciousness is proof of the presence of the soul in the body, as sunshine or light is the proof of the presence of the sun. When the soul is present in the body, there is consciousness all over the body, and as soon as the soul has passed from the body, there is no more consciousness. This can be easily understood by any intelligent man. Therefore, consciousness is not a production of the combinations of matter. It is a symptom of the living entity. The consciousness of the living entity, although qualitatively one with the supreme consciousness, is not supreme because the consciousness of one particular body does not share that of another body, but the supersoul, which is situated in all bodies as the friend of the individual soul, is consciousness of all bodies. The supersoul, which is situated in all bodies as a friend of the individual soul, is conscious of all bodies. That is the difference between the supreme consciousness and the individual consciousness. Now, Srila Narayan Maharaj quotes a verse from the Brahma Sutra, the Vedanta Sutra, in his commentary. Just as one sun illuminates the whole universe, even though it is situated in one place, in the same way the Atma, which is situated in one part of the body, illuminates the entire body, spreading consciousness throughout. Now, why is this verse and purport so important? Because there is a number of people, as Prabhupada says in the beginning, there are various theories regarding consciousness. So, there is a number of devotees, particularly in ISKCON, for some reason, they have this idea that, no, we didn't fall. We never fell. Even in that book written by one devotee, Dhruta Karma, is that his name? Dhruta Karma? Yeah. He's with Sadaputta, he wrote the book. So he wrote a book on this, Jiva doesn't fall. So then he quotes some lecture of Prabhupada. See, he's saying, we're not fallen, we're actually there. We're in the spiritual world. We're sleeping in the spiritual world, and only our consciousness is here. This is in direct opposition to what this verse says, and to what Prabhupada says, and to what the Vedanta Sutra says. Direct opposition. In direct opposition of the statements of the Shastra and the Acharyas, they've made up a philosophy that we never fell. We're actually there. It's only our consciousness that's here. This is a complete speculation. Complete speculation. There is absolutely, positively no evidence for this, according to this verse and according to the Vedanta Sutra. There's no evidence. This is speculation. They say that there's some place in Goloka where all the jivas are sleeping. I'd like to know where that is. My son can get the mattresses. Ridiculous. Completely ridiculous idea. I don't know where they come up with these ideas. They obviously haven't studied Bhagavad Gita. They haven't studied about the Vedanta Sutra. They don't know. They don't know the philosophy. Not everybody has this idea. Not everybody has this philosophy, but some people have this philosophy. This philosophy is unacceptable according to Vedanta Sutra, and according to Bhagavad Gita, and according to Prabhupada. He says twice in this purport, And he indicates it a third time that the soul is in the body. As the sun is situated in one place, but is illuminating the whole universe, so a small particle of spirit soul, or those situated in the heart of this body, is illuminating the body by consciousness. Says it directly. The consciousness is the proof of the presence of the soul in the body. When the soul is present in the body, there is consciousness all over the body. As soon as the soul has passed from the body, there is no more consciousness. This is, not only did he talk about it here, but he's talked about it in a number of lectures like this. He's quoted it again and again, so many times, that the soul is in the body, and when the soul leaves the body, then the consciousness leaves the body. Prabhupada has made this point many, many times. Many, many times. So where they get this idea that the soul is sleeping in some far-off field in Goloka and the consciousness is down here is completely beyond... I don't know where they get it from. It could be nothing more than complete and total speculation. Because it's not written in Gita like this. It's not written in Vedanta Sutra like this. And it's not accepted by Srila Prabhupada like this, or by Srila Gurudev, or by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Nobody accepts this idea. Complete speculation. One who knowingly sees this difference between the body and the owner of the body, and can understand the process of liberation from this bondage, also attains the supreme goal. So we have to understand this knowledge. And how do we understand it? We understand it by hearing the transcendental sound vibration from the lips of the sadhu. This is, Prabhupada repeats again and again the same point. First canto, first chapter, 6th verse. In the purport, he says, hearing and explaining the revealed scriptures is more important than reading them. One can assimilate. Assimilate is a very important word. One can assimilate the knowledge of the revealed scriptures only by hearing and explaining. Assimilate, if you read the dictionary translation of assimilate, it means to turn food into living tissue. Transform food into living tissue. So what is the idea of assimilating the knowledge through hearing? It's dissolving the subtle body. Bhakti yoga dissolves the subtle body. The process of bhakti yoga dissolves the subtle body. 3rd canto, 25th chapter, verse 33. It dissolves the subtle body, and as the subtle body is dissolved, the living tissue, or the real spiritual entity, the soul, the soul manifests. Very clear. Very clear. We have to hear. We have to hear from the sadhu. Now, Krishna, further answering the question that Arjuna has asked in 13.1, is going to talk about the 3 modes of material nature. And we will see here how, by the modes of material nature, the living being acts in certain ways. Because the consciousness becomes influenced by that. If we take this analogy of the sun and the sunshine that's given in the next to last verse of the 13th chapter, he's setting up the image, the visual. There's a visual that's being set up here. What is that visual? That the soul is in one place, just like the sun. But the consciousness emanating from the soul is throughout the subtle and gross body. And we see how The sunshine is distributed throughout the universe. Is the sunshine the sun? Yes, it's the sun. It's the sun's rays. It's not different from the sun. When the sunshine comes into this atmosphere, it becomes contaminated by pollution, by clouds, by so many things. But is the sun contaminated? No. The sun is not contaminated. The sun remains pure. Similarly, the soul is not contaminated. The soul remains pure, but the consciousness becomes polluted by the clouds of material nature. Now we're going to discuss how the consciousness becomes polluted in this 14th chapter. Sri Bhagavan Nuvachya Param Bhuya Pravakshyami Jnanam Jnanam Uttamam Yajgnatva Munaya Sarve Param Siddham Ito Gata. The Blessed Lord said, "Again, I shall declare to you the supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained to supreme perfection. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature, which is like my own nature. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation, nor disturbed at the time of dissolution." So, again, he's referring back, Janma Karma Chame Divyam. Anyone who understands my birth, my appearance, and my activities as being transcendental, then at the time of their departure from this world, they will come to my abode and they will attain a nature like mine. So here he's again reiterating this point. If you become fixed in this knowledge, what is the knowledge? You become fixed in the knowledge that you are transcendent by nature to the modes of material nature. The modes of material nature are material, and your consciousness is spiritual, but it's covered, it's confused, etc., and therefore you need to cleanse it, and the way to cleanse it is by hearing the Maha Mantra from the lips of the sadhu. Cheto Darpanam Arjanam Baba Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. We must have the chanting of the holy name. These two verses Prabhupada used to quote a lot of times. Mama yonir mahad brahma tasman garbam dadami aham sambhava sarvabhutanam tato bhavati bharata sarvayonishu kunteya murtaya sambhavantiya tasam brahma mahadyonir aham bija pradapita. Jai. The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharat. So Prabhupada is going to explain in here. This is an explanation of the world. Everything that takes place is due to the combination of Kshetra and Kshetragna, the body and the spirit soul. This combination of material nature and the living entity is made possible by the Supreme God Himself. The Mahatattva is the total cause of the total cosmic manifestation, and because in the total substance of material cause there are three modes of nature, it is sometimes called Brahman. So although Brahman actually refers to the effulgence of Krishna, which comes directly from his transcendental form, it is sometimes referred to as the total substance of the material cause. What is the total substance of the material cause? It is the shadow of Ramadevi. Ramadevi is the expansion of Radharani. But Ramadevi shadow is cast upon the Brahman effulgence of Krishna. And this is called the Pradhan, the undifferentiated material nature. When that Pradhan is glanced on by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavishnu, and the Jivas and the Paramatma enter into Brahman, into this Pradhan, dead, inert matter, it becomes the Mahatattva. And then all of the elements become animated. Here he's saying, everything, this is an explanation of the material world. Everything that takes place is due to the combination of Kshetra and Kshetragna. Kshetra is the field, and Kshetragna is the soul. The spirit soul and the supreme soul, Paramatma. Kshetri. Paramatma is Kshetri. So, their presence animates Pradhan, manifests Mahatattva. Here we see, Prabhupada gives example. The scorpion lays its eggs in piles of rice, and sometimes it is said that the scorpion is born out of the rice. But the rice is not the cause of the scorpion. Actually, the eggs were laid by the mother. Similarly, material nature is not the cause of the birth of the living entities. The seed is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they only seem to come out as products of material nature. Thus, every living entity, according to his past activities, has a different body created by this material nature, and the entity can enjoy or suffer according to his past deeds. The Lord is the cause of all the manifestations of the living entities in the material world. It should be understood, aham bija pradapita, it should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I, Krishna, am the seed-giving Father. Aham bija pradapita. Bija means seed. Pita means father. Bija prada, seed-giving. Aham, myself, I myself, am bija prada, the seed-giving Pita, father. In this verse, it is clearly explained the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the original father of all living entities. So this is very important. This goes right to the heart of what I'm talking about in my book, what is being talked about always by Prabhupada. Life comes from life. Matter cannot manifest life. This is called a biogenesis. In a biogenesis, they have this conception that when the proper combination of matter comes together, the amino acids are manufactured, and from those amino acids, single-cell living entities are produced, and consciousness is produced. So they say that life is manufactured in this way by the combination of elements. But Srila Prabhupada makes the point in that previous verse in the 13th chapter that this can be easily understood by any intelligent man. Consciousness is not a production of the combination of matter. The soul leaves, the consciousness leaves, the body is dead. All the chemicals are still there. All the ingredients for consciousness, if it was material, are still present. Why does the consciousness end? It ends because it's left with the soul. So, therefore, Krishna is saying, me, aham, me, I am the seed-giving Father. I have placed the seeds of the living entities in this material world. The living entities are combinations of material nature and spiritual nature. Such living entities are seen not only on this planet, but on every planet, even in the highest where Brahma is situated. Everywhere there are living entities. Within the earth, there are living entities, even within the water and within the fire. All these appearances are due to the mother, material nature. And Krishna is the seed-giving process. The purport is that the living entities being impregnated in the material world come out and form at the time of creation according to their past deeds. So, if we look at what the scientists will say, if we argue with the scientists and we say that if the combination of chemicals and neurological activity dictates what the personality is, and therefore the personality can be altered by drinking alcohol, taking drugs, or by a severe accident to the head. So if any of these things could create a difference in the living entity based on an alteration in the body, in the brain, of the neurological activity in the biochemicals. So they say the behavior changes, the personality changes, the consciousness changes, because the biochemistry changes. So when the chemistry changes, these things change, therefore consciousness is produced by the biochemicals. This is their argument. Now, if you respond to this argument, no, this cannot be. Because we see one person will drink alcohol, another person will drink alcohol, the one person will have a great alteration in his behavior and his attitudes and his consciousness and personality, but another person can drink a similar amount of alcohol and not be disturbed at all. He will not lose his regular personality or consciousness. It will not be altered to that degree. So why is it that two people have an accident and their head is hit by a car? One person becomes a congenital idiot and the other person lives a normal life. So what is the reason that the brain chemistry has not been altered? Their argument will be genetics. One person has a genetic makeup which allows the brain chemistry to tolerate alcohol more, and another person has a genetic makeup that doesn't tolerate the alcohol, and therefore he becomes addicted. Or this person has a genetic makeup, a constitution that could tolerate a blow to the head, but the other person doesn't have the genetic makeup to tolerate a blow to the head. His constitution is too weak due to his genetic makeup, and therefore they're born with it by the genetic makeup. This is how the differences are accounted for in different people by the same activities. So it's still a matter of matter, not consciousness from the outside. But here, Prabhupada is making the point, and the point is very clear, that it is consciousness emanating from the soul that signals to the mind and the subtle body, the subconscious mind, the desires. And the dormant desires are there in the subconscious mind, and they descend to become active desires in the subconscious mind. And then they descend from active desires to actual fruition, in which one acts out the desires. So the living entities have karma. This is, yes, they are born with a certain genetic makeup. They are born with a certain physical ability to do or not to do, to be affected or not be affected. It's correct. We agree. But why? Why is because of karma. It's the karma of the activities of the living entity in the previous birth that dictates the kind of body that they're going to get. This is what Srila Prabhupada is saying here in this verse. He's explaining. Such living entities are seen not only on this planet but in every planet. All these appearances are due to the mother, material nature, and Krishna is the seed-giving process. The purport is that the living entities being impregnated into material world come out and form at the time of creation according to their past deeds. So the forms that they are awarded has got to do with the past activities that they've performed. It's a combination of desires and activities and consciousness at the time of death. These are all given as the reasons here in the Gita by Krishna himself. So, yes, we agree, genetic makeup is there. It comes from the birth. The constitution is there. But why does one person have this kind of constitution and the other doesn't? It's not that God is gambling with dice. Yes, you good, you not good. No. God is awarding them what they deserve based on their activities. Krishna is not doing things he's not motivated by revenge or spite or anger or hate or any negative emotion. His only emotion is love. He loves everyone. But karma, action and reaction, is the law of accountability. What I do, I have to receive a reaction for. This is the laws of accountability. You can't act inappropriately, improperly, and expect not to be held accountable. And when you act appropriately and properly, then you have a right to expect to be given the fruits of your good deeds within the material conception. But in the spiritual conception, you renounce both the good and the bad. And you look only for attaining the spiritual, which transcends that. And having that state of consciousness means that one has to transcend the modes of material nature. Because it's the modes of material nature that are used to enforce the laws of karma by infecting the consciousness in a certain way. And so now we're going to read about these modes of material nature, how they infect the consciousness. Material nature consists of the three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the living entity comes in contact with nature, he becomes conditioned by these modes. O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode develop knowledge, and they become conditioned by the concept of happiness. So persons in the modes of goodness, they have a tendency to try and create balance and harmony, because goodness, Vishnu is in the mode of goodness. Vishnu's job is to maintain. So they're looking to see how they can maintain equilibrium, how they can maintain stasis within the universe, how they can put into play a social structure or an atmosphere that can sustain harmony between people and people, between people and nature, between people and the animals. They want to create a kind of harmonious existence because this is the nature of goodness. Goodness is a process of trying to create this harmony. The problem is they become conditioned by the sense of happiness. Oh, I have done good. I have done well. I am being nice. I am helping people. And so therefore, these persons becoming conditioned like this tend sometimes to take birth many times in the mode of goodness. And they become professors or scientists or priests or psychologists or whatever. But also the mode of goodness is very important. In the mode of goodness, one can understand the nature of the spiritual world. And one can be more, here Prabhupada says, that as such, they are attracted toward working in the mode of goodness, and as long as they have an attraction for working in that way, they have to take some type of body in the modes of nature. Thus, there is no likelihood of liberation or of being transferred to the spiritual world. Repeatedly, one may become a philosopher, scientist, poet, and repeatedly become entangled in the same disadvantages of birth and death. However, the mode of goodness is also the place to be situated for understanding the higher knowledge. The difficulty here is that when a living entity is situated in the mode of goodness, he becomes conditioned to feel that he is advanced in knowledge and is better than the others. In this way, he becomes conditioned. The best examples are the scientist and philosopher. Each is very proud of his knowledge, and because they generally improve their living conditions, they feel a sort of material happiness. The sense of advanced happiness in conditioned life makes them bound by the mode of goodness of the material nature. Yet, we see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says that the living entity, by reading the Srimad Bhagavatam in the Vedic literature, the modes of passion and ignorance are reduced, and the modes of goodness are established, and one can understand what is Brahman. In the beginning of the purport, Prabhupada says, a man in the mode of goodness is not so much affected by material miseries, and he has a sense of advancement in material knowledge. The representative type is the Brahmana, who is supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness. This sense of happiness is due to understanding that in the mode of goodness, one is more or less free from sinful reactions. Actually, in the Vedic literature, it is said that the mode of goodness means greater knowledge and a greater sense of happiness. So, by developing the mode of goodness and removing, or reducing, eliminating passion and ignorance, one is more likely to take up Brahminical activities or activities that help to improve one's chances for liberation from the material world. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti, and because of this, one is bound to material fruit of activities. So you think here about the banker, the stockbroker, the insurance agent, the people who are constantly trying to improve and increase their material acquisitions. More. Give me more. How can I get more? How can I get more money? How can I get a bigger house? How can I get more houses? How can I get a better car? How can I get more cars? How can I get a new wife when the other one is old? How can I do this? How can I do that? I want more, more, more. Give me more. It's about more. Unlimited longings and desires. And these desires are never fulfilled. No matter how much more they have, they never have enough. A good example is this man Trump. He was a billionaire. He had all the money he could want. He was, whenever he wanted a new wife, he got a new, young, beautiful girl to be his wife. He had fame. He made that television show, right, which was called The Intern, right? Is that what it was called? What was it called, that television? The Apprentice, yeah. The Intern, The Apprentice. Okay, so The Apprentice. So that show ended up being piggybacked. They copycatted all over the world. They had The Boss, and they had this, and they had that. So he became famous worldwide. All over the world, he was famous as the boss in The Apprentice. You're fired. You know. So he had fame, he had wealth, he had beautiful women, he had everything. He wasn't satisfied. He wanted power. He had power, but he wanted ultimate power. Now he's the President of the United States. He thinks he has ultimate power. But he's seeing that actually his ultimate power is not so easily attained. He's seeing how he has to, if he doesn't play nice with everybody, then he can't get what he wants in this world. So there's always lessons to be learned. Huh? You understand? Lessons to be learned. So in Rajagun, the desires are unlimited. There's no end to the desires. More, give me more, give me more, give me more. This is called a mode of passion. And when the mode of passion is increased, one develops a hankering for material enjoyment. He wants to enjoy sense gratification. For sense gratification, a man in the mode of passion wants some honor in society or in the nation. And he wants to have a happy family and nice children, wife and house. These are the products of the mode of passion. Tamastva jnanam gyam vidi. O son of Bharat, the mode of ignorance causes the delusion of all living entities. The result of this mode is madness, indolence, and sleep, which binds the conditioned soul. Indolence can also be called laziness. Indolence is a British English word, which was used in India, and Prabhupada uses the word. But in American English, you're just plain lazy. So what do we see about the mode of ignorance? These are people in the mode of ignorance. They don't want to follow any rules or regulations. In the mode of passion, they will follow some rules in order to get what they want in terms of pleasure. It's up there. In the mode of goodness, they follow all the rules because all the rules are required in order to attain maintenance, in order to attain harmony. And you have to follow rules, you have to follow principles, and they have to be used in order to help one attain stasis, to attain equilibrium in the material world. He adjusted it for you. So, rules have to be followed, but in mode of ignorance, no rules. The rule is my senses, enjoy, and then relax. This is the mode of ignorance. So in the mode of ignorance, people, they simply want to forget about the suffering in the material world. So they drink, they take drugs, they take alcohol, they work hard, they have sex, drink, sleep, eat, lazy, like this. When they descend into addiction, due to the very strong influence of ignorance, then you end up in the bar. What is the bar? It is a place of darkness. The meat is old, it's aged. The liquor is old and aged. The tobacco is old and aged. Everything is aged, everything is old, everything is smelly. In that dark atmosphere in the bar, there's no chance for enlightenment, spiritual consciousness. It is a place of complete contamination of the consciousness. But forgetfulness. It is about forgetfulness. Forgetting about the suffering that one is in the material world. Let me be drunk, let me be high, let me be forgetful of the influence of birth, death, disease, and old age. So this is the situation. Such a man appears to be always dejected in the mode of ignorance and is addicted to intoxicants and sleeping. These are the symptoms of a person conditioned by the mode of ignorance. They are not even active like the man who is controlled by the mode of passion. Thus, another symptom of one embedded in the mode of ignorance is that he sleeps and that he's lazy. So, Sattvam Sukhe Sanjayati. The mode of goodness conditions one to happiness. Passion conditions one to the fruits of action. Ignorance conditions one to madness. Sometimes the mode of passion becomes prominent, defeating the mode of goodness, O son of Bart. And sometimes the mode of goodness defeats passion. And at other times the mode of ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy. So we see some people, they descend into addiction because of bad association. So they associate with many people in the mode of ignorance. The mode of ignorance influences their consciousness. They become addicted to substances. And then they go to rehabilitation or go to NA or AA. And then by good association, they come out of the mode of ignorance and they get into the mode of passion or the mode of goodness, depending on how much discipline they place in their lives. So in this way, there is always a competition for supremacy between the modes of nature. The manifestations of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge, when the eyes see clearly, when the ears hear and understand properly, when all of the senses are engaged in goodness, then the body is illuminated. One speaks knowledge that is for the benefit of others. He hears information that can help himself and others. He sees and reads things about how he can make a better life for himself and others, trying to find harmony, balance, and equilibrium in the universe. O chief of bards, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, uncontrollable desire, hankering, and intense endeavor develop. We see in the criminal element this mode of passion. How can I get more? How can I get more? I want more. I want more. Give me more. The desire is always to give me more. And if I have to get more by killing the other person, or by beating them, or lying, or cheating, or whatever I have to do in order to get what I want. Because why? Attachment. That attachment is there. That verse from the second chapter of the Gita. Dhyayato vishaya punsam. You meditate on the objects of the sense. Sangat sanjayate kama. Dhyayato vishaya punsam. Teshu sangas bujayate. Then we become attached. Sangat sanjayate kama. Then we become lusty. Kama karoda bijayate. And we don't get it. We become very angry. We have uncontrollable desires. Hankering. Intense endeavor develops. I have to get more. And whatever I have to do to get more, I will do it. If I have to cheat. If I have to adjust the information. I knew one man. I don't want to say exactly who he is. But he was a big man in the stock market. Very big man. Very big man. And he was what was called the controller. The controller. He had to make sure that all the trades in the company that he worked for, which was one of the biggest on Wall Street, were done properly, according to the law, legally. And the man who owned that company was very big man. Very, very big man. He was one of the biggest people in the world of finance. Not mentioning any names. But this other person who was the controller, he was very principled. Very principled person. So when he saw that they were doing something illegal, he went to that big man and he said, I'm the controller here. What you're doing is illegal. and you're overlooking it. I can't remain the controller if you're going to do this. And the man said, okay, you're fired. I said, okay, I'd rather be fired than to do something illegal like this. And then, immediately, he was hired by another big company because they appreciated his principled approach. So, although he was in a world in Wall Street where there's so much desire for material pleasure, the mode of goodness was strong with him. He had a sense of morality, dignity, and following the rules and the principles. And so because he had that sense, so he'd rather lose his job than to break the law. Eventually, it was found out, and that company was fined, and some lower level people in the company were given fines and jail sentences and so on, but he escaped untouched because he followed the rules. So even within the mode of passion, there can be some influence of the mode of ignorance, and this story is a good example. O son of Kuru, when there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, madness, illusion, inertia, laziness, and darkness are manifested. When there is no illumination, knowledge is absent. So ignorance is the opposite of goodness. It's a darkness in comparison to light. Passion is in the middle. A little goodness, a little ignorance. But ignorance is darkness, goodness is light. In goodness, we have a chance to understand spiritual life. That's why it says in the Bhagavatam, by studying hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam from the pure devotees and engaging in the practices of devotional service, the modes of passion and ignorance are reduced, and the mode of goodness is established. So, but when there's no illumination, when there's no goodness, when ignorance dominates, knowledge is absent. When there's no knowledge, when one is in the mode of ignorance, one in that mode does not work by any regulative principle. He wants to act whimsically for no purpose. Even though he has the capacity to work, he makes no endeavor. This is called illusion. Although consciousness is going on, life is inactive. These are symptoms of one in the mode of ignorance. Now, something very important. What happens when you die in the different modes of nature? This is going to indicate how we take our next birth, how reincarnation works. It's based on what mode of nature you've cultivated, which indicates that you are making choices with your minute independence to be more well situated in the mode of goodness as opposed to the mode of passion and ignorance, or you are not making good choices and you are more situated in passion and ignorance. So by properly exercising or improperly exercising your minute independence, you will be more, and that shows a desire. I want to be in a certain state of consciousness at the time of death. So here it says, one who dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets. So now he explains here, Prabhupada, that one in goodness attains higher planetary systems like Brahmaloka or Janaloka, and there enjoys godly happiness. The word amalan is significant. It means free from the mode of passion and ignorance. There are impurities in the material world, but the mode of goodness is the purest form of existence in the material world. There are different kinds of planets for different kinds of living entities. Those who die in the mode of goodness are elevated to the planets where great sages and great devotees live. So places like Janaloka, Tapaloka, Siddhaloka, depending on the state of consciousness, one will go to those places. There you will see Gandharvas, angels singing with wings, yogis, siddhas, who fly simply by thought of the mind, moving the mind here and there, intelligence. Their bodies can fly, become very small, very big. They have all the cities. Or one could go to Swarga, where he can enjoy pleasures. When one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth again among those who are engaged in fruitive activities. And this is what we see here, why we see people remembering their past lives. Because they were living here on the earth planet as human beings. They were taking birth. Again, they had desires for fruitive activities, fruitive pleasures. I want to be wealthier or smaller. Every day we look in the mirror. What do we see? We see something we don't like, especially if you're a woman. Women have a tendency, they look at themselves, oh, I don't look well. I wish I was, my skin was lighter or darker, or my face I had a better nose or better eyes or this or that. So like this, they're constantly thinking about how to improve. I wish I was thinner or fatter. They have no sense of, they're very attached to their bodies, and they're always thinking about trying to get their bodies in a better shape. I remember when I was doing consultations in Ayurveda in the East Village, I had helped these two people who were makeup artists for models and for the movies. And by helping them, and they got better, so they started telling, so all these models came to see me. So this woman came to see me. She was 6'1", and she weighed 125 pounds. Can you imagine? 6'1", 125, and she was taller than me, and she weighed less than half of what I weigh. 125 pounds. I weighed 125 pounds when I was 5. So she weighed 125 pounds. And she said to me, I need to lose weight. Can you help me lose weight? And I was like, how am I going to take weight off your body? There's nothing, you're only 125 pounds. Where am I going to take the weight from? And she had no shame. She just took off her clothes and she said, look at my thighs. Look how big they are. I said, well, I can't give you an herb to make the weight go from the thighs. You have to, you have to do exercise or some other means of taking it off your thighs. I can't promise you that if you take these herbs, the weight's going to go off only from the thighs. It doesn't work like that. There's no diet that I can give you to make the weight go from the thighs. But this is the nature of these people. They want to change their body. So when you have desires to have different types of human bodies to enjoy more fruitive activities, then you take birth again in this world. And that's why many young people, they're finding more and more these children are remembering their past life as human beings in this world. And they're trying to fulfill the desires they couldn't fulfill in the previous birth. And when one dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. I saw somebody posted a video on Facebook of a dog sitting at the piano. And this dog is playing the piano and looking at the sheet music and playing the piano and going, oh, 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 trying to sing. He was obviously remembering his human life. And now he had become a dog. Now he had become a dog. So this is the greatest danger, probably. Greatest danger. Coming down back into the animal species, where there's no ability to discriminate between matter and spirit and the controller of both. There's no ability to become conscious of God and of yourself, the soul. So this was very unfortunate. Seeing this was very unfortunate. And I made a point of it. I posted something on under the picture, and I said, this is heartbreaking to see that a human being has been reincarnated as a dog. And some of the people actually got it. They actually got it. But meanwhile, they spend so much time with their dogs, who knows what's going to happen in their next life. By acting in the mode of goodness, one becomes purified. Works done in the mode of passion result in distress, and actions performed in the mode of ignorance result in foolishness. Foolishness means that you don't know what to do or what not to do. You'll perform activities, whatever the activity, okay, if I do this, as well, you see sometimes these videos of people who try to skateboard through the roof off the roof into the pool or something like this. Is foolishness. This is ignorance. They act like monkeys. So this is an indication of the mode of ignorance. By the mode of ignorance, they do foolish things. From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. This is why we try to strive to be in the mode of goodness by practicing devotional practices and following the scriptures and hearing the scriptures. From the mode of passion, grief develops. We become aggrieved because we're attached to the fruits of our work, and when we don't get the fruits, we become aggrieved. And from the mode of ignorance, foolish, madness, and illusion develops. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the mode of ignorance who don't follow any principles or rules, who do all the negative karmas in life, who willingly hurt other persons for their own pleasure, they go down to the hellish worlds to suffer. We see when they come up from that place. We see these people who have suffered in hellish conditions, how they put tattoos with these different weird dragons and animals and other things on their body. They wear black. They're always in the darkness because they're still in the mode of ignorance. They've come up to the human life, but they're still in the mode of ignorance. When you see that there is nothing beyond these modes in material nature, in all activities, and that the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all these modes, then you can know my spiritual nature. So this is how we know the spiritual nature of Krishna. To understand that everything here is the modes of material nature. Goodness, passion, and ignorance, and see beyond it to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. So now Arjuna is going to ask the 14th question. O my dear Lord, by what symptoms is one known who is transcendental to those modes? What is his behavior, and how does he transcend the mode of nature? So this is similar to the question he asked in an earlier chapter. How can we understand a man who's achieved spiritual consciousness, Stita Dhira? And now in this chapter, we're going to see what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says about these questions. In the second chapter, Arjuna received an answer to the question, what are the symptoms of one who is Stita Prajna? Now, however, he is questioning further, being eager for more specific knowledge about the subject. So in the second chapter, reflecting back, we see that the question was asked about Stita Prajna. Now he wants to know, by which symptoms are those who have transcended the three gunas to be known? What is their conduct? How can one transcend the three gunas, thereby attaining the state of transcendence? In the second chapter, when Arjuna asked what are the symptoms of one who is Stita Prajna, he did not ask, how does he transcend the gunas? But here, he's specifically asking this question. So this Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur brings up this point. Srila Narayan Maharaj says, in this sloka, Arjuna has questioned Sri Bhagavan about the symptoms of a person who is beyond the three gunas. It is very important for every human being to ask these questions. These questions are essential for those who are really enthusiastic to follow the teachings of the Gita. Their answers give instructions on how to transcend tamasic, rajasic, and sattvic guns and achieve the state of nirgun without modes of nature. Then, by cultivating Bhagavad Bhakti, one can attain the highest goal in the form of Bhagavad Prem. In this verse, Arjuna's questions are very appropriate. He wants to know the symptoms of a person who has already transcended the material worlds. First, he inquires of the symptoms of such a transcendental person. How can one understand that he has already transcended the influence of the modes of material nature? The second question asks how he lives and what his activities are. Are they regulated or non-regulated? Then Arjuna inquires of the means by which he can attain the transcendental nature. That is very important. Unless one knows the direct means by which one can be situated, always transcendentally, there is no possibility of showing the symptoms. So all these questions put by Arjuna are very important, and the Lord answers them all. And now, big 4 verses all together. The blessed Lord said, he who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, nor longs for them when they disappear, who is seated like one unconcerned, being situated beyond these material reactions of the modes of nature, who remains firm, knowing that the modes alone are active, who regards alike pleasure and pain, and looks on a clod, a stone, and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is wise and holds praise and blame to be the same, who is unchanged in honor and dishonor, who treats friend and foe alike, who has abandoned all fruitive undertakings. Such a man is said to have transcended the modes of nature. So first, he gives the qualities by which we can recognize the person who has transcended material nature. This is similar to what we read in the 12th chapter, at the end of the 12th chapter, the different qualities of a person who takes to the process of bhakti yoga and practices bhakti, as many of these same qualities have been enumerated there in the 12th chapter. One who engages in full devotional service, mam chayovya bicharena bhakti yogena sevate, sagunan samatityaitam brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, and at once transcends the modes of material nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. And now in this last verse, Brahmano hi pratishta aham. Of the impersonal Brahmajyoti, certainly it rests, pratishta aham, on me. Here it becomes abundantly clear that the Brahman effulgence, which the impersonalists and Mayavadis want to merge into, is resting on the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Amritasya avyasya cha. Sasyavasya chadharmasya sukasya kantikasya cha. I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness, and which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal. So, here, after illuminating Arjuna with a series of qualifications or qualities of someone who's transcendental to the modes of nature, Srila Prabhupada, he breaks it up. He says Arjuna had submitted 3 questions, and the Lord answers them one after another in these verses. Krishna first indicates that a person transcendently situated neither envies anyone nor hankers for anything. So this way he starts to go over all these things. He who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, nor longs for them when they disappear. All of these things. What is illumination? Goodness. What is attachment? Passion. What is delusion? Ignorance. He who does not hate any of those when they are present, goodness, passion, or ignorance, nor longs for any of them when they disappear. Here we see how it's being laid out by Krishna. Who is seated like one unconcerned, being situated beyond the material reactions of the modes of nature, and who remains firm. So then, he says, one who is in this consciousness engages in devotional service, full devotional service. Bhakti yogena sevate, renders full devotional service. And he does not fall down. He does not fall down in any circumstance. At once, that person transcends the modes of nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Now, in this verse, Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya vivyasya cha shashvatasya chadharmasya sukasya kantikasya cha. I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness, and which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal. Now, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur will certainly have some important things to say about this verse, and we're going to look at it. So, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says here about all of the symptoms of transcendence which Krishna has enumerated in verses 1422 through 1425. 22, 23, 24, and 25. He says, the effect of Sattva Gun is that knowledge illuminates the senses of the body. The effect of Rajagun is passionate action, and the effect of Tamagun is delusion. These symptoms indicate the influence of the 3 gunas. When the gunas perform their natural function, a person who is gunatita has no animosity toward them. He doesn't hate them. He just knows, okay, this is the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance in trying to influence my consciousness. So I have no animosity. I don't hate. Because he understands them to be miserable. Similarly, when the modes are not acting, one who is gunatita does not desire them with a yearning to attain happiness. He doesn't think, oh, why am I not being illuminated by knowledge? Or why am I not having passionate material pleasures? Or why am I not intoxicated and enjoying delusion? He's not interested. This sloka, 1422, is related to 1425, the last sloka. In response to the second question, Kim Achara, how do they behave? Bhagavan speaks 3 slokas, beginning with the word Udasinavat. Those who are not disturbed by happiness and misery, which are the effects of the gunas, always remain fixed in their constitutional swarup. Srila Gurudev points out, upon hearing these questions, Bhagavan first explains the symptoms of the person who's gunatita. The function of sattva gun to illuminate, rajagun to engage in passionate action, and tamagun to bewilder. So we've discussed this point. Your second question is, what is the conduct of a person who is gunatita? His conduct is as follows. The gunas themselves are working within this body. He lets the gunas perform their work and he does not become implicated in them. He remains separate from them and indifferent, as an indifferent person who is nonetheless conscious. Misery, happiness, a clod of earth, stone, gold, favorable or unfavorable situations, criticism or glorification, all appear as a result of bodily activities, but he keeps equal vision towards them and treats them equally. Being situated in his own self or constitutional position, Swarup. In his worldly dealings, he thinks, as a conscious entity, I have no relationship with honor or dishonor, and the behavior of enemies and friends. Giving up all feelings of attachment and renunciation, he acquires the designation of Gunatita. And one who renders service with Ekantika Bhakti to me in my Shama Sundar form can transcend these gunas and become qualified to attain realization of Brahma, my spiritual nature. So how can one transcend these 3 gunas? In response to this third question, Bhagavan is speaking this sloka, beginning with the words Mam Cha. The word Cha means me alone. Only those who render service to me, Shama Sundar, who am Parameshwar, become Brahma Bhuyaya, or qualified to experience my spiritual nature. So here Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur lays emphasis to this point, that the Krishna who is speaking the Gita is Shama Sundar from Vrindavan. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes this point, and Param Gurudev Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj makes this point in his assessment of Bhagavad Gita. And Srila Gurudev has also made this point in his lectures. And that's why when he translated this verse, in honor of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, he adds this statement: one who renders service with Ekantika Bhakti to me in my Shama Sundar form can transcend these gunas and become qualified to attain realization of Brahma. Because it says here, Manchayovya Bicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevate. Me, who is rendering service unto me. Who is me? He is defining me. Me is defined by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj as Shama Sundar of Vrindavan. How do the above mentioned people who are gunatita cross beyond the 3 gunas? In response to this question, Sri Bhagavan says, my bhaktas easily cross over these gunas and become qualified to experience my swarup as a result of rendering service to me in my Shama Sundara form with Avya Bichari or Ekantiki Bhakti Yoga. Those bhaktas who've taken shelter of Bhagavan become nirguna. This is verified in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:25-26. Nirguno mad apashraya. Those who take exclusive shelter of me are nirguna. without influence of the material modes of nature. The word mad apashraya means mad eka sharano bhakta. Only a devotee who takes exclusive shelter of me is my ashrita, dependent on me, and is nirguna. Srila Narayana Maharaj gives a very long commentary on this verse. Definitely worth spending time reading it. It's almost 4 pages. But not today. Brahmano hi pratishta aham. I alone am the basis of that nirvishesh Brahma and the sole refuge of everlasting immortality, eternal dharma, and the transcendental bliss of prema arising from ekantiki bhakta. One may raise the question, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, how can your bhaktas attain the state of nirgun Brahma, which is possible only by experiencing oneness with Brahma, meaning Brahman? In response, Sri Bhagavan speaks the following sloka beginning with the word Brahmano. I am indeed the basis of Parma Pratishta of that Brahma, and am famous as the supreme basis of everything. Since Brahma depends upon me, I am its shelter or basis. The word Pratishta, basis, has the same meaning as this in all Shruti statements such as Anamaya, and therefore I am also the basis, Pratishta, of immortality, Amrita, and this Amrita, heavenly nectar. No, this Amrita is not heavenly nectar. It means imperishable moksha, Shashvatasya Dharmasya. I am also the basis of Parma Pratishta, of Bhakti, the supreme eternal Dharma, Sanatan Dharma, which is eternally existing both in the practice, sadhana, and perfected siddha stages. And I am the prema, which is attained by ekantiki bhakti. Thus, since everything depends on me, one can attain the platform of Brahma, characterized by merging with Brahman, by performing my bhajan, performed with a desire to attain kaivalya. Kaivalya here refers to a unique state of spiritual existence, devoid of physical and mental activities. While commenting on this sloka, Srila Sridhar Swamipad quotes Krishna as saying, I am the Pratishta basis of Brahma, which means that I am concentrated Brahma. Although the sun is concentrated light, it is known as the shelter of light. In the same way, although I am the form of Krishna, Krishna Swarup, I am the basis, Brahmano hi Pratishta aham, of Nirvishesh Brahma. The Vishnu Purana also proves this point, that Vishnu is the shelter, Ashraya, of all auspiciousness. He is the shelter of Chitta, consciousness, as well as the all-pervading Atma. While commenting on this shloka, Srila Sridhar Swamipad also writes that Vishnu is the Parama Pratishta, supreme shelter or basis of Param Brahma, the omniscient Atma. As Sri Bhagavan says in Gita, I am the Pratishta, basis of Brahma. So this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He's quoting this. Then he also quotes Madhusudan Saraswati. Madhusudan Saraswati's commentary, he writes, the following doubt may be raised. How can your bhaktas, having attained to your bhav, transcendental nature, become qualified to achieve that state of Brahma if you are different from Brahma? Anticipating this doubt, Sri Bhagavan says, Brahmano hi pratishta aham. Pratishta implies I alone am sufficient and complete, since I am the basis of Brahma. If someone realizes me, then his realization is sufficient and complete, and the realization of Brahma is also included in that. Vedanti tat tattva vidam tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaneti. That Bhagavan contains Paramatma and Brahman. Therefore, if realizing me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is Pratishtaham, the basis of Brahman, then it is sufficient and complete. And the realization of Brahman is also included in that. Srila Madhusudan Saraswati has composed a sloka establishing whether Brahma is nirvishesh or savishesh, with or without qualities. Parakrita manadvandvam param brahman narakriti sondarya sarasarvasham vande manda majam aham. I worship the effulgent form of the essence of all beauty, the son of Nanda Maharaj, the Param Brahma, who has a human form and who has put aside the duality of my mind. The three gunas alone create all the anarthas which are obstacles on the path of perfection. This perfection for the jiva is ananya bhakti, which he can only achieve when he is free from the three gunas. This is what has been explained in this chapter. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. So, now, tomorrow, should read, this is Bhakti Vinod Thakur's point, his commentary. Srila Gurudev Narayan Maharaj gives that. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur quotes Arjuna as saying, if you say that the attainment of Brahma is the ultimate goal of all types of sadhana, then how is it possible for persons who have realized Brahma to enjoy your nirguna praying? In response, Bhagavan says, in my eternal nirguna state, in my swarup as Bhagavan, I place the conscious seed, the jiva, who is of the Tatastha Shakti, in the womb of my inert material energy, Jad Shakti. The Mahad Brahma, the self-effulgence of my body, is the first manifestation of my spiritual realm, and in my Brahma feature, when a Bada Jiva advances to the higher and higher stages of cultivation of Jnana Yoga, he ultimately attains my feature of Brahma. This is the first step of the Nirguna stage. Before attaining this step, he is bewildered by nirvishesh, featurelessness, feeling due to having given up all attraction to mundane variety. This nirvishesh bhav is removed by becoming situated in that nirguna stage, and by taking shelter of Shuddha Bhakti Yoga, he then realizes the stage of Chid Vishesh, or transcendental variety. Very important. So, all these commentaries, they have shed great illumination on this verse. Srila Prabhupada points out, the living entity, although Brahman by nature, has the desire to lord it over the material world, and due to this he falls down. In his constitutional position, the living entity is above the three modes of material nature, but association with material nature entangles him in the different modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. So, Srila Prabhupada says that although Brahman by nature, he has a desire to lord it over. This is explained by Prabhupada in Ishopanishads in the purport to 16 and 17, where he says that the jivas are atomic particles inside the Brahman, and all conditioned and liberated souls come from those atomic particles, and that sometimes they have desire to enjoy the material world. They go into the body of Mahavishnu, and by his glance, they enter into the Jud, the inert material matter, as Bhakti Vinod Thakur has just explained. Due to the association of these three modes, the living entity's desire to dominate the material world is there. By engagement in devotional service and full Krishna consciousness, he is immediately situated in the transcendental position, and his unlawful desire to control material nature is removed. Therefore, the process of devotional service, beginning with hearing, chanting, and remembering, the prescribed 9 methods for realizing devotional service, should be practiced in the association of devotees. Gradually, by such association, by the influence of the spiritual master, one's material desire to dominate is removed, and one becomes firmly situated in the Lord's transcendental loving service. This method is prescribed from the 22nd to the last verse of this chapter. Devotional service to the Lord is very simple. One should always engage in the service of the Lord, should eat the remnants of foodstuff offered to the deity, smell the flowers offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, see the places where the Lord has his transcendental pastimes, read of the different activities of the Lord, his reciprocation of love with his devotees, chant always the transcendental vibration, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and observe the fasting days commemorating the appearances and disappearances of the Lord and his devotees. By following such a process, one becomes completely detached from all material activities. One who can thus situate himself in the Brahma Jyoti is equal. One who can thus situate himself in the Brahma Jyoti is equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in quality, not quantity. This is the end of the 14th chapter on the modes of material nature. We've covered some very important points in this chapter. Tomorrow will be the 15th chapter, which is titled The Yoga of the Supreme Person. This is a very important chapter. Some very important verses are recited in this chapter by Krishna, which were used many times by great acharyas in their commentaries. So, we'll do this. So now the question that Arjuna asks, 14th question, driving the narrative, 1421, what are the symptoms? Well, how does one transcend? When one transcends, what is it like? What does he do? All these questions. Krishna has just answered them. And then now, in the 15th and 16th chapters, and part of the 17th, he's going to talk about the nature of someone who is practicing bhakti yoga within this world. What it's like to be in this world, what the nature of the world is like, and different things to help a person understand. And then what the nature of people who are divine and demoniac are like in this world, and who you should associate with. All of this will be described in 15 and 16. And in 17, the next question will be asked, and then in 18, the last question. In this way, the 16 questions of Arjuna will be asked, and the narrative of Bhagavad Gita will be completed. That ends class for tonight. Now we do tomorrow's class. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare